if you want to stay in a relationship like this, I'm not the person to ask this question to, because I'm gonna tell you to leave your man. Hey guys, welcome to Too Personal. I'm Joy Taylor. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you hit subscribe and follow us on social at Too Personal Show. We will also get to your questions later. Well, question later in the show for Never Too Personal. If you want to be a part of the show, you can DM us at Too Personal Show or email us at toopersonalpodcast@gmail.com. All right, time to piss everybody off. So I have I don't want to say I've avoided this topic, but every time I get into this topic, I get people upset. So I really wanted to wait until I was ready to join this conversation. And it keeps coming up, and it's a very highly debated topic on the internets, and it is girl bossing. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am 39 years old. I'm a millennial. I absolutely grew up in the girl boss era. I did the unpaid internships. I worked multiple jobs. I am of the grind till you die era. All right. Like, that is how I came up. And there are certain aspects of girl bossing and that life that I do think are incredibly useful. There are aspects of it that I think are ridiculous and inaccurate and can open you up to be exploited. And it does not leave a lot of nuance, but neither does the conversation. I feel like now we are at a place where it's split because it's reached the internet, and the internet is here or there. There's no nuance. These clips do not allow for the elaborate discussion around a particular topic. These screenshots don't put the entire thing in context. And yeah, some very powerful, successful women have had this conversation lately. Emma was pretty much dragged for her opinion about on I believe it was Keke Palmer's podcast about girl bossing and working from home. Bose talked about it recently. Michelle Obama. And my overall opinion about girl bossing is just not limited to one line. But if I had to take all the nuance out of it and say what I think about girl bossing, or, being in the workplace, or being a woman with a career, the simplest way that I can put it, having been in the workplace for over 20 years, you cannot have it all at the same time. That is not revolutionary to me. I learned that at a very young age. And the principle of it is you're going to fail at something pretty much every day. And you have to forgive yourself for failing at that thing, whatever day it is. One day, maybe you didn't make it to the gym. One day, maybe you skipped out on your diet. One day, maybe you weren't able to call your friend back who was dealing with something. One day, maybe you missed your kid's 15th ballet practice. One day, maybe your partner needed more attention from you than you had the capacity to give. One day, maybe you forgot one of your niece or nephew's birthdays. You forgot to call them. One day, maybe you missed an assignment at work. You're not going to check every single box every single day. And I think the girl boss mentality preached that you have to be excellent across the board. You have to be a perfect mom. You have to be a perfect employee or a perfect boss. You have to be a perfect partner. You have to be in perfect shape. You have to look like you have everything together and have everything together. And that's impossible. And that is, I think, what triggered the initial pushback against girl bossing, which is that this is exhausting. I'm missing everything. I'm trying to hold everything up. I'm trying to hold everything together. And then because of that, I'm failing at everything at the same time. I recently watched Bad Moms on a plane ride the other day because I needed, something to just put on that I've seen a few times. And I love when she snaps and just basically is like, I give up. I'm not doing anything. And obviously, there's a message there, and then she course corrects, and everyone realizes that it's not actually her job to be perfect and hold everything together and be on time for everything. And then everyone admits that their lives are falling apart as well and that they're not perfect. And then all the moms come together and they're nicer to each other. That is what I feel like needs to be the next step of this girl boss conversation. But what I said in my one-liner is what I really think is missing. If you want to take a step back from the workplace, that's your right. You shouldn't be ridiculed for it. It makes perfect sense. If you want to work from home because you're tired of the workplace drama, that's your right. And you should do what is a priority for you. If your goal is to be the CEO of the biggest company in the world, you should aim for that. If you want to stay at home and be a mom and a homemaker and not be in the workplace at all, you should do that. The judgment of all of these choices is what we need to remove. And I bang this drum constantly because feminism, like many terms, has been co-opted and morphed and perverted into this idea that women who leave the workforce and are at home with their children now have lost their ambition. And you have to work if you want to be respected as a woman. Or if you work, then you hate being a mom and you hate everything that is feminine. Like everything is not in this particular box. There's gray areas across the board for everyone. And choice is the purpose. And the reason I feel so strongly about this, one is because I don't believe in hustling backwards. Like, why would I give up my rights and freedoms for a particular idea because it offends traditional sensibilities? Traditional sensibilities is what led to abuse and oppression. It wasn't that long ago that women had absolutely no financial freedom whatsoever. You could not get a credit card. You could not get a loan. You could not start a business. You want to know why your grandparents stayed together for as long as they did? Because your grandmother was a prisoner. She had no choice. Almost all situations that involve domestic violence also involve financial abuse. They do not have access to money. If you have no funds, you can't run. And abusers know that. So that is one very large part of this entire pushback on women having options. There's so much to this conversation. Oh, I love seeing these memes. I can't believe women fought for the right to work. Baby, women didn't fight for the right to work. They fought for the right to get paid for the work they were doing. To get paid for the work they were doing. You can go out and get a job because women who came before you marched and fought and were beaten and abused and killed and raped and all types of other things for the right to get paid for the labor they were already doing. If you want to stay at home and be a kept woman, focus your energy on finding a man to do that for you. But the entire trad wife pushback is bringing everyone back to this place where women should only have one option. And when women had only one option, they fought to have more options because women are not naturally submissive. We've been over all these things. I think it's a very, very nuanced conversation. And the idea that you have to be one thing, you have to be a girl boss or you don't get respect. You have to be a trad wife or you don't get respect. You have to be a perfect mother. You have to be this. You have to. Men don't have these conversations. Men don't have girl boss eras. If they miss things with their family, with their spouses, with their partners, with their kids, like they're just providing. They're just working really hard. Nobody thinks of a dad as being a bad guy because he has extra hours at work. They think of him as a provider. If a man spends more time with his kids, he's just an amazing father. Wow, he's got his priorities straight. There's not these narratives assigned to men and what they do in the workplace. And listen, I understand how toxic being in an office can be. More than aware of it. And if it's not for you, don't do it. Find a way to make money doing something that makes you happy. I'm not saying quit your job, but I'm saying spend that energy on working to put yourself in a position where you aren't having to do that. But you can't have that and get promoted to CMO. And when someone says that, it's like they're saying something that's offensive. Baby, this is obvious. There's already all these things working against us. And if you're a Black woman or you're a woman of color, forget it. Everything is working against you. So you can't have the perfect home life, the perfect work life, the perfect non-stressful work situation, have everything be convenient for you, and make it to the top of whatever industry. Something is going to be, you have to sacrifice somewhere. And that's not offensive. That's the reality. Mediocre men excel all the time. They are rewarded all the time. There is a man running for mayor of Los Angeles, one of the biggest, most influential cities in the world, who has never spent a day in public service. He is a mediocre man. He is a mediocre white man, and he may win the mayor's office for Los Angeles. We have a president who has no qualifications whatsoever. I can go down the line. His entire cabinet, just bozos. We have a crackhead for the Secretary of Health. Stop comparing yourself to men. They have a different experience. They have a different experience in the workplace. They are not held to the same standards. They are not held to the same narratives, and they never will be. But we have to stop bickering amongst each other about how this all works. Yes, if you're not in the office face to face with people, if people aren't knowing that this was your work, if they're not developing relationships and networking with you, it's likely going to be very hard for you to excel and get promoted and move up through that company. It's going to be harder for you. But if your mental health is more important, then let that be more important. But we can't reprogram the system overnight. We can't even agree on what women are supposed to be, let alone say that you're going to be able to have those same opportunities. It's hard. The workplace is hard. Moving up in success is hard. You have to make sacrifices in different places. And a sacrifice is not a one-size-fit-all thing. And if you're somebody who is aspirational and you want to conquer an entire industry, you're going to spend less time with your kids. There's only 24 hours in a day. You're probably not going to be the best partner. There's only 24 hours in a day. Or you're going to be the best partner and the best mother and the best friend and the best sister and the best daughter, and you probably won't also be the best employee or the best boss. And certainly, if you do achieve that, it's not going to be every day. I think Michelle Obama had an incredible quote. And she said, it's impossible to have it all, so stop with that. There are trade-offs and it's okay. Life is long and you have chapters. And I would argue that even within chapters, you have paragraphs. And day to day, things change. And day to day, hour by hour, you have sacrifices and choices that you have to make. And every single one of those has consequences. So to attack an entire idea of girl bossing as it being negative and it upholding this impossible standard for women. And yes, I totally agree. It is an impossible standard. But accomplishing very hard things that are almost impossible require impossible levels of work and dedication and sacrifice. I've missed so many things with my family. I've missed birthdays. I've missed parties. I've missed dance recitals and performances. I've missed so many things in pursuit of my career. And now that I've reached a certain level of my career, I can shift that and prioritize them because I've worked to a place where I have that flexibility. I did not have that flexibility in my 20s. I had to make sacrifices. And am I sad that I missed those things? Yes, but it would have been impossible to do everything. And I not only forgive myself for it, I knew that going in. And now I'm in a different place. But there's no version where I was going to be as aspirational as I was and be able to check every other box. It's not real. But you have to make sacrifices somewhere. And when things are already stacked against you, you're going to have to make more sacrifices, and they're going to be more painful. And yes, being at work is going to be mentally draining. It's probably going to suck. Every single job is not going to be the best job that you ever had. In fact, probably most of them will be awful. Probably most of the environments will not be great. If you happen to only work in great environments, bless you. Like, you're blessed. Be grateful. It's hard. Success is hard, requires sacrifice. These are not conversations that men have, and we have to be more serious about it. If a man works 80 hours a week, he's driven. If she works 80 hours a week, who the hell's watching her kids? How are you going to find a man when you're always at work? If he steps back for family, he's celebrated for being a good dad. If she steps back for family, she's given up her ambition. What does she even want to become in this world? Why did she even go to school? Why did she even start a career? Men and women are not compared the same way. That's why there's no man boss era. If he fails professionally, it's because he's not supported enough at home. It can't be his fault. If she fails professionally, it's because she's exhausting herself and she really just needs to focus on one thing. It's always a different narrative. And the reality is, you're not going to have it all the time. You're not. You can't. Nobody does. The difference is when men don't, there's not a narrative and a story and a title and a boy boss era attached to it. So I guess in conclusion, do what's best for you, which is always my feminist motto. Do what you want to do. That's what the girlies fought for. Your choice to be a girl boss and ignore everything else in your life until you reach the level of success that you want. Your choice to get married at 19 and raise a family and be a homemaker. I love that too. And every single other version in between. That is up to you. And I'm so grateful that women have that choice. And it is the power of freedom and rights that was fought for that they're trying to now roll back. And it's not a negative thing unless you put the idea out there that you can only be one thing. And men never have to deal with this burden. So just consider when you talk about another woman and what her choices are and what advice she's giving you, is this advice even pertinent to you? If someone's saying you should be in the office more and you're saying, I don't care about being in the office more, I care about my mental health, then don't worry about what they're saying. If you're saying, I want to be the number one person in this particular industry, but I also want to go on vacation. I also want to work 4 days a week. And I also want to go on vacation a couple times a year. And I also don't want to miss anything with my family. And I also want to be able to work out every single morning. And I also want to be able to keep this diet. And I also want everybody to not have any toxicity around me. And I also want to make sure that my workplace supports this and that. Love that for you. But if it doesn't happen, it's more than likely that that's not going to happen. And that's all anyone is saying. You can't have it all at once. Nobody does. Men don't and women don't. The difference is the standard that girl bossing set was that if you don't have it all, you're failing. That is not true. But there's nothing wrong with trying to have it all and have other things fail because that's life. It's just different for men and women. All right, time to get to Never Too Personal. If you want to be a part of the show, make sure that you email us, toopersonalpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can follow us at Too Personal Show. Okay, so my boyfriend constantly compares me to other women online and says I'm too sensitive when it hurts my feelings. Am I insecure or is this disrespectful? Okay. I want to preface this with, I'm not, if you want to stay in a relationship like this, I'm not the person to ask this question to, because I'm going to tell you to leave your man. As I've gone over before, it's raining dicks out here. So you'll be fine. You will replace this man. They're literally lonely in the streets. They're zombies in the streets, lonely. So you can get another man, which it kind of sounds like you should. So there's a couple different options here. One, get another man, which is what I would do. Two, well, actually, before I got another man, I would start comparing him to other men online. And I would probably seek for his biggest insecurity and find men that make him feel more insecure and compare him to them first. So I would do a little bit of emotional terrorism before I left just to, have a little get back, but that's just me. If you want to stay in this relationship, and you want him to stop doing this, and he's actually a person that respects you and wants and thinks your feelings matter, which it doesn't sound like he does, but you're not being insecure. It's incredibly difficult to move through the world and not compare yourself to other people when no one is prompting it. But when someone is showing you things and talking to you about what other women online at that, which means he doesn't know these people and doesn't know their lives, and people only post their wins, you're not being too sensitive. You're absolutely right to have your feelings hurt. It is disrespectful, and you're not insecure. I would have a conversation with him about how this does hurt your feelings, how you do feel disrespected, how you don't want to be vengeful like Joy Taylor, and you want to keep this relationship and you want to be treated with respect, and you don't want to develop insecurities because of the way that he talks about other women. If this is a grown man who respects you and respects your feelings, he will stop doing that. If he doesn't, then you have your other two options, which is to leave him because there are plenty of men in the world, or terrorize him and then leave him, which is always more fun. Yeah, I'm sorry he's doing that. This is crazy. And I would say that comparing yourself to people online is a very, very dangerous thing to do. I've talked about this in the past, and just comparing other people's relationships online, because you don't know these people. You don't know these people. You don't know what they're doing. People are editing themselves. They have a million filters, myself included. And people post the best parts of their lives. Like, very rarely are you seeing someone out here telling you about all the terrible things that are going on a day-to-day basis. That's just not real. And I highly doubt he's comparing you to those people. So it's a very dangerous game to compare yourself to other people in general. But when someone else is comparing you to other people, especially online, people they don't know, that's incredibly weird. And it sounds like he's insecure and a little emotionally abusive. I don't know this man. So like I said, you can always give him the benefit of the doubt and have that real conversation with him. And if he doesn't, then leave him. But I would take some pounds of flesh on my way out. That's too personal for this week. Make sure that you subscribe and follow us at Too Personal Show. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.